Hi, this is David speaking. I want to talk about why it is that for some people it takes years to bond and build relationships, and for others it takes just a few weeks. So why is it that some can build an instant connection? Why is it some are so fast at bonding? For example, back in school, I had this small group of friends, and one day a new guy arrived, joined our group, and after 4 weeks, he was as close with my friends as it had taken me, I think, 2 years to be. So I was like, something's going on here. There's something you can do to actually connect faster with people. So later I became super interested in psychology and behavioral science, and I made friends with a behavioral scientist and a lot of really socially savvy people that taught me a lot about social interaction. And it turns out that in behavioral science, they know very well exactly what it is that makes people bond. When I read about this, I was like, this is something that everyone should learn in school because it's so powerful and so simple when you know about it. So scientists have been looking at thousands of traits that we humans have, and they were able to see that there's only three simple traits that determine if we become close friends with people fast or if it takes forever for us to bond. So I want to talk about these three traits and how we can use them to instantly connect with people. The first trait that the scientists discovered is positivity. It's not about being overly optimistic or annoying or post motivational quotes on Facebook. It's not about that at all. So I don't really like the word positivity because of the connotations it has with it. A better word to describe what the scientists found is to make people feel that you like them. Maybe this sounds obvious, but here's the thing. When we're in a social setting, we become a bit uncomfortable, a bit nervous, and the natural thing to do then is to feel guarded. We take a step back. We let others show that they like us first to be sure that we dare to like them back. So here's an example. The other week, I met with a friend of a friend, and he was a bit guarded like this. So when people pulled jokes, he was like, yeah. Or when he asked questions in a probing way, like if he wanted to figure out if he could trust people or not. So, maybe he's the kind of person who wants to feel that others like him before he dares to show that he like them. Because when you show that you like people, you become a bit vulnerable, right? If you show that you like someone and they reject you back, then you risk being vulnerable. So it's not about being positive like a dog and lick people in the face, but it's about being relaxed and calm and warm. So I have this friend, for example, who's so warm and nice to people he meets. So he's like, hey, how are you doing? Nice to meet you. So what brought you here? Everything, the subtleties in the voice and in the way he interacts, and he asks people questions like, so what do you do? Oh, that's really interesting. How do you do that? He comes off as authentic and warm, and he just shows people that he likes them. If we look at our history, if we look at our ancestors, we know that one of the most dangerous things you could do was to meet a stranger because you didn't know, maybe that stranger was from a different tribe and then he could kill you. But if we knew that the person liked us, we could embrace that person back. We tend to like people who we know like us. We tend to dislike people who we know dislike us. So even though this sounds super obvious, when we're a bit nervous, we tend to come off as distant. And that's the opposite of showing people that we like them. So that's the first most powerful trait. Show positivity. Show people that you like them. All right, so moving on. The next trait they discovered was attentiveness. Attentiveness is the ability to give someone your full attention and to really listen to that person. But not just that, to also act in a way that you show that person that you listen. This sounds obvious to most people as well. It's something we've been taught since kindergarten, that we should be good listeners. But the problem is that as soon as we're in a social setting where we feel a bit self-conscious, we start thinking about ourselves. How am I coming across? Does this person think I'm a loser because I don't have a job as cool as that person? What about my voice? Is it weird? We start to think about ourselves like this. And then we forget to pay attention to the person we're talking to. Another problem is that we're afraid that we won't have anything else to come up with, something to say. Another problem is that we don't know what to say next. So we start thinking about, whenever that person's done talking, I need to come up with what to say. So what should I say? What socially savvy people know is that if you give someone your full attention and really focus on every word the person's telling you, your brain will naturally come up with questions. They will pop up because of the natural curiosity, just like when you're with someone you're really comfortable around, a close friend or family member, you can have your full attention, then your brain automatically comes up with questions. When we start thinking about what we should say next, it's harder to come up with questions, but also we forget to pay attention to what the person's telling us. I know this guy who, whenever I meet him, he's like, oh, hey, how was the trip to Jersey last week? Or how was that new thing you talked about with your company? How's that coming along? He asks me questions like that, and he shows full interest. So whenever I'm talking, he's like super interested in this. It's like it's just us two having a conversation. He's only focused on what I'm saying, and it creates this feeling that this guy is truly listening. On the other hand, I know people who've been more interested in what they are saying, and then they come up with this idea about they relate to something I'm saying, and they cut me off because they want to talk about their thing. And as the scientists discovered, this is one of the worst things we can do when it comes to bonding and connecting with people. If we really want to bond and connect, we want to show attentiveness. Here's a funny thing. When it comes to attentiveness, it's always as important, no matter if you're talking to a friend you've known for 10 years or totally new people. It's always super important to be attentive. When it comes to positivity, it's actually more important in the very beginning. And then as you grow closer to your friend and you know your friends for several years, you don't need to be like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Nice to meet you, obviously, because you know that you appreciate and like each other. So you can be more chill and you don't need to be as positive. That's pretty interesting. And what they also discovered was that the third trait that we're going to talk about now, it starts off less important and becomes more and more important over time. So for a lot of people who maybe bond and have shallow relationships, but they don't really build deep relationships, it's because they lack the third trait. And what is the third trait? It's coordination. Coordination is what the scientists describe to be like soccer players who are on a soccer field, and they are in tune with each other. So they always pay attention to each other and adapt together with each other. And when it comes to interactions with other people, it could be like if you talk to someone who's soft-spoken and calm and talk like this, then we don't want to bulldoze over and talk like this and be really high-end and high energy and high pitch. This is an extreme example, but I see this over and over, and I think that maybe half the world's population have problem with coordination. They don't really pay attention to what mood the other person actually is in. I mean, how often have you come into a conversation and been thinking, wait, what mood is this person in? Can I match this in some way? Here's the thing. A lot of my clients get wary whenever I talk about adjusting because they think that it's manipulative to change who you are. But you're not changing who you are. You just want to bring forth different parts of your personality. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm slow and sleepy and I talk like this. And after I've just been out jogging, I'm super high energy and I'm more like this. But if I say, come home from a jogging tour and I meet up with a friend who just woke up, I want to pay attention to my friend, what mood he or she is in. And I want to be able to adjust to that and maybe tone my energy down a little bit and talk to my friend in his world. This isn't just about energy level, but with all kinds of different things. We want to be able to adjust and bring forth the part of ourselves that matches the current situation. So maybe we're in a group conversation and people are having a very serious talk about something, and we don't really feel comfortable with that. So we feel like brightening the mood and pull off a few jokes. That's another way to break the coordination. We want to be able to adapt and feel what's appropriate for the current mood. This is something that FBI uses, for example, in their handbooks for how to quickly be able to bond and connect with people. That is to be able to adapt like this and meet people where they are. So these are the three traits. I think if people would learn this in school, the world would look wholly different. Since I learned this and I learned to master this, my life has been so much easier, so much more social, and it's been so much more fun to interact with people, because when you connect with them fast, it gets more rewarding. So positivity, dare to show people that you appreciate them. Do that in a calm way. And we have attentiveness. We want to practice listening carefully, and we want to show people that we listen carefully. So we want to move out from our own heads into practicing being fully focused on the conversation, on what the other person is telling us. And then we want to connect back to that. So I have a friend who told me last week that he scouted for a new car. So the next time we met up, I asked him, so how's the new car search going? Those are the tiny things that helps others see that we actually listen to them and care for them. And the third one, coordination. Just like soccer players, always aware of where the other players are. We want to always be aware of where others are in mood, in energy level, when it comes to how serious or unserious or sad or happy they are, and be able to pick up on that and adjust to that. When we do that, that's when we get the same results as my friend who came in from nowhere and just made friends with everyone in my group, when it took 2 years for me. And when I learned to discover this, everything changed. All right, cool. If you like this video, hit like, hit subscribe, and I see you in the next one.